In the Adobe suite, Adobe InDesign is a desktop publishing and page layout software that is particularly useful for crafting things like posters, books, presentations, and flyers. So, when we go to open a new file in InDesign, we move up to the New File command, left click, and now we can craft a layout size in any size we want. We can use picas, which is InDesign's custom unit of measurement, or we can change it to inches. Now, because the final deliverable for this class is in inches, we're going to go ahead and adjust our units to reflect this. So our units will be in inches. Because we want our page to be shown in ArcD, we're going to adjust the width of the page to 36 inches and the height to 24. We're already happy with the orientation, which is in landscape, and the margins, which all reflect 1/2 inch. Now in InDesign, margins are useful for separating the content from the edge of a page and framing and defining the edge and type area of a page. But for now, we're not going to change it from the settings we have here. So if your settings are looking something like this, we're ready to hit create and start working on this page. Left click. Once we have the page open, we can zoom in and out just the same way we do in Illustrator, holding Alt and the middle scroll wheel to scroll out and in. We can also pan left to right by holding the space bar down until the little hand appears, left clicking and holding down, and shifting the screen left to right. In the movable toolbar over on the left, we have a lot of familiar tools like stroke and fill. In InDesign, many of the quick and essential tools we need at our fingertips can be found over here in the movable toolbar over on the left. Furthermore, the series of tabs up above at the top of the screen also have drop-downs that will also lead us to other essential tools in InDesign. A particularly useful drop-down is over here on the window drop-down. If you left-click, as you can see, all of these are very valuable commands and panels that are really going to help us, but we'll get into those in just a second. Now, a great function of InDesign is laying out multiple pages, and that's the first function we're going to take a look at. Let's access our Pages panel by going up to Window, left-clicking, moving down to the Pages, or hitting F12, but for now we can just select it here, left-click, and just like that, our Pages panel will be brought up. Now, what's interesting about pages in InDesign is the fact that your master pages can have content applied to them that will then be shown in all of the pages subsequently. Let's take a look. Double-click into a master page. Let's say that using a similar tool to what we could find in Illustrator, I go ahead and draw a really simple shape. It doesn't have to be complicated. I'll draw the shape with the pen tool and then give it a nice recognizable fill color. Now, I've drawn all that in the left-hand page. Watch what happens when I go back to my Pages and I add a series of pages. I'll move down on this panel to the plus icon, hit left-click for Create New Page, and as you can see, on every one of the pages that I had a shape for on the master, that will appear in subsequent versions in the subsequent pages. So just remember, anything you put in a certain part of a page in the master plan will then appear on every individual page that we create in the actual pages of our document. I can draw a quick rectangle to demonstrate what will appear on the right side of each page, and just like that. So as you can see, your master feature of your Pages panel is particularly useful at sharing different pieces of graphic information consistently over an entire document. Now, to delete a page, you can very easily do so by left-clicking to select it, right-clicking, and then opting for Delete Page. In a similar fashion, you can duplicate pages or move them as you need to using the right-click. And now is a good time for us to take a look at another element of InDesign that we can also access through the Window tab. And it's an element that we've already worked with now in Illustrator and AutoCAD. That is, left-click, the Layers panel. Let's left-click it. So here we have layers, and much like in Illustrator, We can add layers by hitting the plus command on the layers panel. Left click, and from there, we're able to lock, make invisible, or do a select all on whichever layer we happen to be working with. Let's go ahead and let's title this new layer right now. We're going to title this one Images and hit OK. We're going to go ahead and lock the layer. We're going to change layer 1 by double clicking it, go over, and we'll rename it Text and hit OK. I'll move my layer panel over to this side just so we can view our content. Now we're going to go ahead and make sure we are in the images layer, and to do so we're going to left click, and now that we see that that layer is highlighted, we know that's the layer we're currently working in. So now it's time for us to use a tool in the quick access toolbar over here that is going to be really useful to us in terms of conveying the information that we've now refined in AutoCAD and polished in Illustrator. That is the Frame tool. In InDesign, the Frame tool allows you to draw placeholder frames that you can fill with images. So let's go ahead and try it right now. We're going to move over to the Frame tool over here on the left-hand side in the movable toolbar, and we will left-click it. Now it will give us an option to start drawing a frame. So we're going to left-click and hold and drag to define the shape of that rectangular frame. Perfect. Now this is where it's also helpful to have the folder that contains all of our Illustrator files that we've been working on our scaled Good Street elements in. So we can drag it in to our InDesign file. We left click it and drag it inside of the frame we just drew, and watch. That image will now appear at the exact correctly scaled size that we exported it from AutoCAD into Illustrator with. So this is where InDesign is really valuable at representing your graphic files. To change the size of the frame itself and essentially edit how much content we view out of the frame, you can do this by selecting anywhere in the frame and then adjusting any corner of it or any edge to essentially edit how much we see out of that frame. We'll go ahead and undo that though. Now, scale is obviously an important part of this project, and we know that because we worked on that Illustrator file we just dropped in at the correctly scaled size, then the size that we currently dropped it into InDesign with should be correct as well. But should you be in the case that you want to edit the size of the image that you've put into the viewport, here's how you do it. You double click in the viewport, and that allows you to manipulate the size of the actual object inside the frame. And much like adjusting the frame itself, you can adjust this graphic by left clicking and pulling on corner or edge as you wish. Now naturally, if we showed it like this, that's no longer to scale, so we're going to go ahead and undo that. But it's just good for you to know that you're able to edit both frame size and size of image by either selecting once or selecting twice. Let's try another one. I'm going to draw another frame. And once again, I'm going to go over to the quick toolbar over here. I will left click. I will begin drawing. Left click and hold and drag. So now I've got a frame that I can drop something into to populate it. I can either accomplish this by picking whatever graphic image I have in my files here, or with that viewport selected, I can move up to File, I can move down to Place, left click, and I can drop in any graphic file I want to this way. So let's say I want to drop in my context plan now. I can left click and move down to Open, and that will appear at the scale we designed it in the viewport. Great, so now that we've got a taste for how to develop frames and put graphic content inside them, let's take a look at another handy feature in InDesign, and that is the text box command. Now before we do that, let's move over to our layers panel. We're going to go to the left of the layer title, and then we can toggle the layer lock. So let's go ahead and lock layer for a moment. And all that means is that now when I try to click into that, I can't select it, I can't do anything with it. And in some cases that's what you want, because if there's information that you don't want to change at a certain stage, now you know it's safe and you don't have to worry about accidentally deleting it. Perfect. Now let's go back over to layers, and we're going to select text. So now that we've got the text layer activated, we're going to start drawing a text box, and it's very similar to drawing an image frame. You're going to move over to the quick toolbar, left click the type tool, and bring your cursor over to this part of your page. Now again, you're just going to left click, hold, and drag to craft a text box. From here, you can edit text size, text font, and various metrics of the text as well. I just pasted in a bunch of lorem ipsum here, just for the sake of giving you a sense of how your text might read at a certain size. Now, writing your text in InDesign is as easy as writing it Microsoft Word or anywhere else. But if you want to change some of the font to your text, again, you can do so very easily. You can just select, and then you move up to the top portion of your screen, and using the drop-down menu here, over on the font section, you can left-click and adjust it to any font that you want. And then to deselect, you can hit Escape. Now let's say that we want to take a minute here to review this and sort of see how it looks, because I know right now we're just seeing graphics and we're seeing text boxes. If you ever want to view how your page looks without, image frames, text box frames, margins, you can do this by tapping the W key and seeing what your page will look like when it exports as a PDF. I know we're quickly running through this right now, but just for the sake of demonstration, let's pretend this content here is all stuff that I'm happy with. We'll hit W again to return. I'm going to show you how to export this as a PDF so that it's ultimately like a finished PDF file that you could submit. We're going to go ahead and move up to File, left click. We're going to scroll down to Export and left click. It will ask us to specify both a location and a file title. We can call this Good Streets Test PDF. Now if I go Save, it will bring up this Export Adobe PDF prompt. Typically, we want to make sure we're exporting all pages unless there's some pages of a document you want to leave off. But in this case, we only have one page, so it's fine to just say all. With that in mind, these other presets all look fairly appropriate for right now, so if you're ever exporting and you want to just copy what you see here, that's completely fine. Then if we hit Export, it will produce a complete PDF page layout for us at the dimensions we specified.